Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric, and we're back with another episode. We've done every episode that talks about the primary ways that you can source books. I will just touch on one more. If you are one that reads a lot about selling books on Amazon, a lot of people talk about Gaylord processing. I just excluded that from this training just because in my experience with what most Amazon sellers are looking to do, Gaylord processing is not something that most people, a lot of people try it, but not a lot of people stick with it just because when most people I know that become booksellers, they're not looking to rent out a 60,000 square foot warehouse, bring in semi-loads of books, and have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment and tons of employees to actually make this business model work. It's important to note that when you buy bulk books like that, 90% of them are going to be garbage. And so it just makes it a very labor-intensive process to be successful at, as well as it's a lot of capital and a lot of equipment that goes into it. So it's not normally a business model that I think the everyday bookseller finds themselves wanting to get into. So I'm just excluding that from this podcast. There are resources out there on the internet if you're interested in learning about that and trying to get something like that started. So this episode, we're going to talk about my company, Kingsridge Media, has multiple different options to help you source books. And most of them are something I kind of dreamed up and have never seen anybody else doing it out there. Other ones you might see competitors for it. Generally in the book space, it's not very thick. So I'm going to talk about those programs a little bit today. If any of them do sound like something that you as a listener would be interested in learning more about, you can reach out to me, sales@kingsridgemedia.com, or you can go to kingsridgemedia.com and just kind of go through the menus and you'll see all the different sourcing options that we do have available. And you can get started that way as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the one that I think is a good way for, if you're just getting into the Amazon bookselling space, I think this is the best way to start. And that's what we call the Amazon leads lists. And basically what the Amazon leads lists do is you pay a yearly subscription. Currently the price of it at the time of this recording is $60 a year. We generate lists that are updated weekly that just have books that we think you can source on eBay and sell on Amazon using the Amazon Prime program. So you're taking advantage of that Prime book bump that we talked about in a previous episode. And you can just buy these books off eBay, sell them on Amazon with that Prime book bump and make a profit. I think this is a great way to start because there's really you can start at whatever pace you want. Sourcebook says you're comfortable spending money and there's no minimum orders or anything like that. Once we get in later on into these programs, you'll start hearing, there are some that do have minimum orders just because it is working with suppliers and the suppliers require that. That one I think is a great way to get started. It's also, if you get started in it and it works for you, it is the one program I can tell you that is infinitely scalable. You would be hard pressed to be able to buy all the profitable books that our software finds. If you subscribe to the way we do things here, and you probably would never be able to run out of books to buy. Possibly could. There's always a cap on everything, but this is one of the most scalable models that we do have out there. It's at a very affordable price. The downside to it is just keep in mind that you do have to purchase books from eBay to make this program work, so that there is some level of labor intensity involved. Because you do have a list of books that, and potentially a lot of them are profitable, but you still have to go confirm that they are truly profitable, that the data on the spreadsheet is correct, and And then you do have to actually go and physically purchase the book, which doesn't take a large amount of time. There is a level of commitment from you to do this. So that's option number one. And we have 3 total options that we do. The next 2 are very, very similar in nature. And the first one we just call it KRM wholesale. And what that is I don't know how much I alluded to this on my podcast up to this point. The way I source the majority of my books is that I work with a network of MFN sellers that make a list of product that they have available to me, and I run that list through a software, and I find the profitable books, and I just buy them from the MFN sellers. Now, that, as you can tell, if you think about that, that sounds a lot like exactly the same thing as a lead list, but you're doing it directly with the seller instead of going through eBay to buy the book, which it is. A lot of the suppliers that I do work with give up to like a 50% discount off the book if you're buying it directly from them, because they're not incurring all the Amazon fees. Typically, I buy in such bulk, large quantities, like we're buying these books by the pallet. And when I say by the pallet, they are not just selling me a random pallet of books. This is a pallet of books that my computer software has looked at what they have and strategically picked out the specific books that I want. So when this comes in, it's not one of these things where 10% of the inventory that I get is actually sellable. It is more like 98% of it is sellable. There are, obviously, because of the way we do this, it does take them time to prep and ship the items to them. Typically, I order it in, the products don't come in for a month. In that time period, there is a percentage of books that the value falls out of. And when you look at them, when you get them, they will not have profitability anymore. But we do typically find that it's beneficial just to list those items anyways, because a lot of times that profitability comes back at a later point in time. It's just a temporary blip in the market that drives the price down. And some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them do lose their value and just piddle out. But that percentage is small enough that at the price you're sourcing the books for, you should still be able to easily make a profit. So what is the difference between, so the 2 programs are KRM Wholesale, KRM Automation. And both these programs allow you to tap into that network of suppliers that we have to get books from. So you do get better pricing on the books, as well as you get to tap into that better pricing on the books, as well as we do offer on all of those books. And actually, we do this with lead list customers too. So if you are a lead list customer and you don't want to have to prep and send the books in, we act as your prep center too, as well. That's an optional feature, and that actually does have an additional cost. Most sellers, because when we order from our wholesale suppliers, all the books have to come to our warehouse anyways. It's not possible to have it shipped directly to you. Most customers will find that the prepping is just the best way to do it, because if it comes into our warehouse and then we ship it to you, by the time we ship it to you, you've just incurred you've spent probably more money than you would have spent if you just paid us to prep them. The difference between KRM Wholesale and KRM Automation is just the way that we source the book. If you are one that wants to be able to look at every book, review it, confirm that you agree with the decision to make that purchase, that's where KRM Wholesale excels. So what happens is once a week, you'll get a list of the books that we've ordered in. You can review that list, resubmit it back to us, and say, I want all of these books from that list. Option 2 is the automation side of it, and that's where it kind of removes you out of the equation. And what you do is you sit down with one of our representatives and you together come up with a criteria of what you're looking for in the book based on the different parameters that our software tracks. And what we then do is, as we're processing the wholesaler's list, we just simply look at what books do you not currently have on order that meet the criteria that you're asking for, and we automatically order those books in for you. And once they come in, they can either be shipped off to you to be prepped, or we prep them and send them right into Amazon for you. So that's more of an automated system. You do give up a little bit of control because obviously these books are being ordered via an automated system, and sometimes the automated system does miss things. You can learn a little bit about that if you go back to our episode about the problems with the Amazon API. Because of the way they present data through the API, there are just some things that we cannot see. We have refined the system down to the point where if I take one of my lists I generate and I go through and I manually check it, I feel on my end that there is bad books in there, but the bad books are not worth the time of having somebody manually go through and vet them out, because it's just easier to just order them in, and if you don't sell them, you don't sell them. You lose out on a little bit of money, but in the end, you're still profitable. So basically, this is based on all the same ways that we run our business. All sellers won't find this to be the best process, and that's why we have the KRM wholesale version where you can go through and confirm, these are the books that I for sure want to order. I don't want the rest of them. With that, those are the 3 programs that we have for sourcing. Put these programs together. I can tell you that you can start an entire Amazon business based off of these 3 systems, because that's kind of what I did. I don't know that you can go anywhere else and find somebody that's saying, here, I've set up these programs that you can run an entire Amazon business off of if you choose to, never having to find another supplier. But that's what I think we have here. And that's, a huge benefit to anybody that's especially new getting into this space. Our company is a good company to know. So it can put you years ahead of other sellers, because you're literally tapping into the exact systems that a 13-year Amazon selling veteran uses. So if any of these systems sound like something you're interested in doing, feel free to reach out. Again, you can reach out to us at sales@kingsridgemedia.com, or just jump over to the website at kingsridgemedia.com, find the specific program that you're looking for. Again, we refer to them as Amazon lead lists, KRM wholesale, and KRM wholesale automation. And through the website, you can set up a Calendly directly with me to talk about it further, to figure out how we can assist you. If you're looking at the lead list, that's super simple. You just purchase a license to the lead list, and you'll be sent a link to start accessing the reports every week when they come out. If there are any other questions about any of this, please feel free to reach out to us, sales@kingsridgemedia. Otherwise, we will be back on the next episode. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.